Hey everyone, this is Hotform here. Today we're going to be watching some 2 versus 2 games that I played on my Mage. I'm playing as Frost Spec in this video, and I'm playing with a Shadow Priest. You'll notice I use Nether Tempest and not Frost Orb. I'll talk about that a little more later. I'm going Invis at the start here against this Restoration Shaman Warrior, and I'm just going to sheet the Shaman right at the start, get a Frost Nova on the Warrior. He intervened over to his Shaman, I think likely just to remove the root, but sadly Nether Tempest AoEs to things around it, so it broke the sheep instantly. So our start was a little bit ruined there. The Shaman's starting to kite behind the pole, and it looks like the Warrior's going for me. I'm going to pop Alter Time as soon as he popped his cooldown, because I know he wants to hit me. But I had to activate it early to go back so that he didn't accidentally kill me. Things are getting pretty hectic. I Ice Block there to stop some damage. I came out early to counterspell the Shaman and keep the Warrior low. The Warrior's backing off a bit, but he does get topped up with the Spirit Link. And I had to blink to get out of that stun, which might not have been the best choice because it put me in a bad position here. This is kind of the spot where it sucks to be in. The Warrior's getting healed, you've lost a bit of your opening pressure, and now he's just going to start to chase you down. So the only way you can really get away from this is to range the Shaman. Running away from the Shaman will mean that the Warrior has to back up at some point, because even though he's full health, I keep hitting him. That's one of the most important things as a mage. You can't just stop and start controlling them forever. It's not going to work. I'm waiting my second Ice Block here to try to get out. He shockwaves me. I blink. Means he's going to charge me right after, so that was a good choice on his part. The Shaman gets feared. We overlap some of our CC there, which was unfortunate, and the Warrior reflects a nice burst from me. But as I was saying, the only way to get the Warrior to stop attacking you is to make his health go low enough that he can't keep chasing you. The Shaman's casting here. Unfortunately, he has a grounding down, so I couldn't counterspell that. I get kicked on Arcane from my Evocate. I also got a life swap from my Priest, but I'm really running out of cooldowns at this point, so things are getting pretty hectic. I throw my Frozen Orb down, but it AoEs the Shaman, just clips in there on that sheep, and that breaks him out, which would have been a perfect setup otherwise, because the Shaman had no trinket. Making sure to kill the Healing Stream Totem. It actually heals for a lot, and it's only an Ice Lance to get it there. I cast a Ring of Frost. It's a rare occasion that you actually have to cast a Ring of Frost, because it's pretty difficult to hit with the casted version, but I managed to get them there and it bought me some time. See, I'm just trying to keep as far away from the Shaman as possible, because then the Warrior has to back up. If I went behind that pole, his health was low, so he couldn't chase me there, and so he knows, okay, he's in a bad position, he has to back up. And that's the way you can get a melee DPS to stop attacking you when you don't actually have a Frost Nova or something to give you a tactical advantage. It's just ranging their healer will make sure that they go back. My Priest gets a Fear on the Shaman here, and with no Tremor Totem, it's a good setup for us. I'm making sure to dispel the Warrior, get that Earth Shield off, and I pop my procs into him, finish him off. So that was a good battle. Just something important there at the end. With Nether Tempest, so it's kind of complex the way it works with the Brain Freeze procs. It can proc on just any tick. Only the most recent Nether Tempest works, so you can only have one going for a chance to proc, but I make sure that I use up my Brain Freeze as quickly as possible. Like there, the Warrior charged over to me. I had a Fingers of Frost and a Brain Freeze. I Frostfire bolted him with the Brain Freeze first, then Ice Lanced, and then I got another proc, so I got to Frostfire bolt him again. And that's why I always make sure to use it up first, because you want to be able to get that next proc. You don't want to miss one because you didn't use it up. Looks like we're coming to the next match here. This is kind of an ideal team to face for us, I guess. It's 2 Paladins, and I do love fighting Paladins because they're very susceptible to Dispel, if you need to go that route, and they also get CC'd pretty easily. I feel like a Paladin as a healer, most of their cooldowns are, they have to be preemptive to use them effectively. They have to put the sacrifice up. They have to get their wings going first. They have a few that are reactive, but compared to like a Shaman or a Priest, most of their healing has to be done in advance, or like prepared healing. So it's easy to set them behind if you know kind of what order to do things in. The Holy Paladin had already bubbled and trinketed there, so I just finished him off with a Deep Freeze and some quick bursts with my Frozen Orb, and that was a nice combo to just clean up the victory there. Holy Paladins are probably the easiest healer to kill as a mage, especially with the Counterspell Silence that we currently have this season. You just Deep Freeze, and then most of the time you follow up with a Counterspell Silence. Okay, we're coming into the next match here. Looks like we're facing a Holy Paladin and a Unholy Death Knight. So it's a bit different than a Frost Death Knight, but for the most part I treat them the same. He does have the pet, but I'm going to go for the Paladin at this point. The Paladin put himself in a ridiculously bad position there, so that is going to be a great start for us. He just walked out, got Deep Frozen immediately. He has Aura Mastery up here, so I'm going to put a Ring of Frost down just to try to delay things a little bit, because there was no other way I could really stop him from casting, and my Priest would have had trouble with that as well. But he does bubble because he was pretty stuck there. He gets away and it gets dispelled, but he's cornering us pretty nicely now. He knows he's the target, so he's being a little more careful than he was at the start. The DK is a problem. Unholy Death Knights, well, I mean Frost Death Knights too, but Unholy Death Knights more so. I feel like it's difficult to stop their damage because just stopping the Death Knight doesn't actually do that much. He's got his whole army of pets and dots and things going, so it's pretty difficult for me to keep my priest okay. I'm just kind of relying on him to do fine at this point. I'm working my best on the Paladin. Honestly, I don't know why the Paladin would have crossed over to try to support the Death Knight, maybe for a dispel or something, but we hadn't even attacked the Death Knight, so I think that was a poor choice on his part. He should have waited until the Death Knight was actually dipping a bit, and then he should say, okay, I got to cross over now. But walking into the center against a mage means that Paladin was just setting himself up for a death, so that was a pretty nice victory for us, and we cleaned it up easily. And the Priest, I mean, he pretty much just kited. That's what he needed to do, right? He needs to stay alive, and Death Knights are probably the most difficult melee class to stay alive against, just because their damage is so consistent. Okay, we're coming into the next match here, and it looks like we're facing a Discipline Priest and a Destruction Warlock. Killing a Discipline Priest is probably one of the most difficult healers to kill as a mage. You can kind of catch them on some key dispels, and you can win that way, but for the most part, I really don't like attacking a Priest. You can CC them not badly, and I don't know, it's just easier to kill the thing that they're with, not the Priest. So we're going to be going for the Warlock in this case. I'm just going to come out of stealth right on top of him. I pretty much do that every game. I'd say 99 times out of 100, nobody's going to stop you when you just come out of stealth right next to them and sheep them. There's a bit of a delay where you're kind of fading in, and then there's also the reaction time of your opponent, and just 99 times out of 100, nobody stops that. I know the Warlock's going for me when he put the Immolate and the Conflagrate on me, so I just alter timed immediately just to stop any damage he would do. He didn't end up Chaos Bolting, so I think it was a bit of a waste. Normally I like to save it for the Chaos Bolt. I'm saving my Counterspell here. I could catch the Warlock on something and maybe try to shut him down, but for the most part I just want to catch the Priest on a key spell, so I'm waiting for that opportunity. He's casting a Flash Heal there. Yeah, that was what I was waiting for. Counterspell on him, and we're getting the Warlock nicely low here. They're going to have to pop pretty much all their cooldowns to keep him alive. I throw the Priest and a Sheep out of that Counterspell too, and that's going to seal the kill for us. So that was a nice victory. And that really goes to show why coming out of Invis on top of someone can be so effective. The Priest didn't have time to react, and then he just ate a full CC at the start, and I was right on top of him, so we could just start really easily into bursting them. He didn't even get to use a lot of his defensive cooldowns to help save his Warlock, so it worked pretty nicely for us. Moving right along into the next fight here, we're going to be facing a Frost Death Knight and a Retribution Paladin. So for the most part, I like to go for the Retribution Paladin in any double DPS team with a Retribution Paladin, because they're kind of the off healer. They keep the other person alive. I had assumed the DK would want to go for my Priest, but it actually looks like he's going to be going for me. So I put myself in a bit of a bad position at the start there to be prepared for that. And he also Dark Summoned my Blink, which got him out of the fruit. And he's killed my pet as well, so things are getting a little hectic at the start here. The Paladin finally realizes, okay, it's his time to shine. He's going to come out from hiding, and this is when I'm just going to have to Ice Block, it looks like. I don't have a pet up, so my options are pretty limited, and they're just kind of sitting there with their DPS cooldowns ready to kill me. I'm going to come out immediately with a Ring of Frost. That's going to buy me a bit of time. I'm going to get my pet out again, which is pretty important. And with him back out, I can do some consistent damage and probably force the Paladin back. He's going to bubble here. My health is getting pretty low, and I've already used an Ice Block, but a life swap from my Priest will keep me alive there, so that'll work out nicely. The Paladin realizes, okay, I'm going to live for the time being, so he has to back up. The Paladin knows that he's the one that we want to kill, so he's playing as defensive as possible in order to do that, and he's just letting his Death Knight do the damage. And because of that, I'm starting to attack the Death Knight. I don't really want to attack him. I also don't have the Polymorph Glyph, so dotting something else can be kind of frustrating, because then I can't CC them later, but when there's only one thing you can hit, if I'm just taking damage from the Death Knight, I'm going to lose. I have to be putting out some form of pressure at the same time, so I might as well just attack him as well. If the Paladin heals him, oh well, but it's better than doing nothing. I put the Death Knight into a Deep Freeze there. He's going to Icebound out of it, but his health is pretty low, so I'm just going to try to finish him off. I counterspelled the Death Knight for a Silence. I'm not sure if that was super effective. The Paladin did toss him a heal, so maybe the counterspell on the Paladin would have been better used, but in the end it worked out not badly for us. Okay, coming into this next match here, we're going to be facing a Discipline Priest and an Enhancement Shaman. I didn't play particularly well this match, but this is a pretty difficult team to face, and they didn't play that well either, but I thought I'd include it anyways. You can notice the Priest there, he used Bane Suppression right off the bat before he'd even engage, so obviously a bit of a mistake on his part, but we'll all make some healthy mistakes in this video. So we're going for the Priest. I'm not sure if it's the best choice in the end. I think after reviewing this, I'd probably would rather go for the Enhancement Shaman, especially since the Priest had already used Pain Suppression, but well. We get a nice Ring of Frost there on all the wolves and stuff like that, and I'm just trying to follow up on the priest as hard as I can. I've already used Counterspell though for the silence, so it's kind of unfortunate. I think maybe saving my Counterspell would have put me in a better position there. I could have stopped that last heal, but hey, he might not have got that low. In the end, the priest gets away, and he's fully topped at this point, so now things are looking ugly for us. It sucks when they live through that opener and they just get completely topped up, because then you know you're in trouble. You have to recover a bit as a double DPS team, which is much harder to do than when you have a dedicated healer. I'm trying to slow the shaman a bit here, just trying to keep pressure out in general. It didn't really work attacking the priest, so I'm going to be CCing him for a bit here and try and go on the shaman as much as I can. Seeing the fire elemental out, honestly I should attack the fire elemental, or well, not the elemental. The totem is the right target, it has much less HP, but because leaving that elemental just going can be very destructive to you. Still, there's so much going on that I don't really have enough time at this point. In hindsight, probably attacking the elemental would have been a good choice, but didn't do that. We're going for the priest again, or I am anyways. I'm just kind of trying to keep things going right now. This is one of those points where you don't really know what to do. Things are pretty high on health. Your opening burst has already not worked too well. I get a nice deep freeze on the priest there though, and a silence from my priest will help him get really low. Unfortunately I used all my burst there, so now I'm stuck casting a frostbolt, and that's not going to do anything. The priest also life swaps the shaman. Still, most of the time with a life swap, I don't actually like to switch. It just keeps the other thing low if you continue to attack the priest, and then you have a target later that you can switch to, but I'm just going to keep putting pressure into what was working. Normally someone life swaps because you're winning against them. So although it can be depressing to see their health go to full, I just keep doing what was having me win, right? So knowing that they had to use life swap meant that it was a pretty effective strategy. The shaman's on my priest really hard at this point though, and my priest is trying to kite away as best he can. He disperses, runs behind the opposite pole, and I have a nice ring stalling that shaman there. But I'm putting in as much pressure as I can on the priest, and I do manage to finish him off. So that was a good kill for us, but I think that priest could have done a bit of a better job and made my life much more miserable. This priests are one of the most difficult things to kill, and I really wouldn't advise trying to kill one if you have the option. Okay, coming into this clip here, we've got a Holy Paladin and a Frost Death Knight. We have some time in the starting gate here, so I'll just talk about the way the team works. My team, that is, I play twos a lot of the time. I don't use any like Skype communication or anything like that. I find it can be a lot better practice if you are relying only on yourself to watch the battle, and that way, you know, you're practicing to make sure that you're noticing as much as possible. So it does mean that we overlap some things sometimes, but oh well, it works out and it's good practice in the end to play twos that way, I find. Now, it can also be a lot of fun. We're going to be going for the Paladin mostly here. You can go for the Death Knight, I suppose, because Holy Paladins are relatively susceptible to crowd control, but I just like killing Holy Paladins. They die really easily, so that's what I'm going to be going for. The Death Knight's going for me in this case. I'm going to alter time right at the start. The best time to alter time against the Death Knight is really early, because Death Knights do have a Dispel. A lot of the time they don't use it, but any team with a Dispel, I want to alter time as early as possible, because that means I'm altering time with so many buffs that they can't reliably dispel it. And if I do see them starting to dispel, I can just activate the alter time and go back. If you alter time and they've already dispelled you a bunch, you can get completely screwed over, because then you just lose your alter time as soon as you put it up. You don't have a chance to ever use it. And you're really counting on that in a lot of situations. Like there, it saved me from a lot of damage from that Death Knight. The Paladin, I didn't really like his choice. He just stood in the center. If he had used the poles a bit better, I think he could have lived longer and it would have been a more interesting battle, but we cleaned him up pretty easily. We're going against a Shadow Priest and a Warrior in this match. Warriors just seem to have replaced Rogues for the most part this season in the double DPS comps. I really don't like attacking a Warrior that much because of Second Wind. They can stay alive for a long time without getting any heals, and if they kite successfully, they can let their other partner kill you in the meantime. So again, I really just don't like to go for the Warrior. I'm going to be attacking the Priest. I didn't get a good opening in Invis. They just waited it out there quite nicely. I'm going to just Frost Nova the Warrior, start on the Priest. My Nether tempest unfortunately breaks the Warrior out because the Priest was standing right next to him. The Priest dispersed early, so that means I'm going to have a lot of options to damage him here, but the Warrior is bursting me as hard as he can. I'm going to alter time immediately out of that ice block once it is dispelled. I kind of knew that it would get dispelled. I mean, with a Priest and a Warrior, you know it's going to get dispelled, so I was just kind of mashing alter time and ice block, but you don't want to mash alter time. It's something you have to use very calmly, because if you use it, you can activate it again instantly, and then you waste it, right? Because you go back immediately. So you have to be very calm and just go, okay, when is the ice block going to go? alter time then, and you really can't be panicking or you're just going to screw it up. The warrior charges out into the center here though, and it looks like my priest had him dotted nicely, so we are going to finish him off. He still had all his defensive cooldowns up, and I think they could have lived a lot longer if he had been more prepared for that switch, but he was just doing his warrior thing and trying to charge me down, so it worked out nicely for us. We're going to be going for the mage for the most part here. I think attacking the priest is generally a better strategy, and oh, barely dodged that Nova from the priest there to stay in Invis. I think attacking the priest is a better strategy, but the problem is you just have to attack the priest when you can do it, because if the priest decides to kite, the mage will easily do all the damage for the team and finish you off if he's not under any pressure. So attacking the mage is good because it forces the priest to heal, and that'll stop their pressure in that way, but it also means that it'll force him away. And that's what you need to do. You need to stop the mage from doing damage so that you can successfully line something up. Because if one team is just controlling a center with an unchecked mage, there's no way you're going to win the battle. I get pressured really hard at the start there. I accidentally wasted my trinket, so it was a pretty brutal start for me. I already had to use Ice Block. I've allocated up. I'd like to see me dot the Water Elemental because it's pretty low health and it was right next to me, but I guess I forgot that. I'm frost moving the priest out here. He fades though, so I can't quite hit him, even though I'd love to do some damage to him right now. Mage is back though. He's already used an ice block as well because it looks like my priest is putting him under a fair amount of pressure. I'm going to get stunned just to blink into a wall there, which is kind of unfortunate, but hey, it happens. I pretty much, against a mage, you can deep freeze them very well because although the mage is going to blink out of the deep freeze, if you use a Fingers of Frost proc to deep freeze the mage, they're going to blink in whatever direction they're currently facing, so you can line them up nicely that way. And pretty much no one reacts fast enough, especially because deep freeze is non-global cooldown. So you can just deep freeze them and then immediately ice lance, and you'll just get the same amount of damage as if you'd used the Fingers of Frost anyways. I had to blink there. Luckily, I just made it out of his frozen orbs because that was a dangerous situation to be in. My water elemental died though, unfortunately, so I'm going to back up. It looks like my priest life swapped me though, and he's over in the corner there. He's going to be healing himself up, so that gives me a bit of control. Their mage is low and I'm high health, so I'm just waiting for my opportunity now to strike. And you can see I'm just controlling the center. I'm making sure that they don't really have an opportunity to move around. My priest gets a lovely fear on their priest though, and this is a perfect setup for me. I just summoned my water elemental back, and we're just trying to wait. Yeah, he's faded here, getting the deep freeze. Oh, brutal. Sheeped right as I deep froze him. But the priest is pretty low health. He's got 2 dots taking on him. And it looks like he wants to die because he's not going to heal himself. My priest takes him down nicely there, and now it's just a mage left, which isn't too much of a threat. I feel, most of the time you can 1 versus 1 a mage and say it's about 50-50. With my priest still alive, all I have to make sure to do is do enough damage to this mage that if he does kill my priest, I'm so far ahead that he can't win. And so that's all I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to sheep the mage or anything to keep my priest alive. I'm just saying, okay, you're going to die at some point, probably, priest, and I want to make sure this mage is really low health, so it's a no challenge 1 versus 1 for me afterwards. He's going to run away. I don't know why I backed off there. I guess I was trying to dodge something, but that didn't work out too well. It looks like he's using the evocation talent where you can evocate and get the extra spell damage, and he got a nice heal from that, but I still have so much health left that I don't think it really matters. So at this point, I'm not concerned about dispels. You can do dispels in a mage fight if you really want to, but I'm just a pound of damage kind of mage. I just keep attacking, and it's like, oh, you put a frost barrier up? Yeah, I could dispel it, or I could just hit you with 1 bolt and it goes away. So that was my choice there. It worked out pretty well. So that's it for the video today, guys. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you next time.